So in this video, I want to talk to you a little about doing mock interviews before your interview. So, essentially what mock interview is you kind of do an interview by yourself or, with help of someone, and essentially imagining, giving the interview, right? So this is I would say, one of the most effective ways to actually become good at interviews. One of the things that I always recommend people, especially my students, going through, the programs that I'm working with, one of the things that I do is essentially start practicing interviews before you get an interview. Imagine, the questions that could be asked, right? That's one of the things that we covered when you're creating the 20 to 30 questions that we talked about before. And then kind of using these questions to kind of practice doing interviews, right? So one of the main things is that I tell them, before you get an interview, make sure that you do at least 3 mock interviews by yourself, like asking the question. Imagine you see the question and then ask that question, essentially, right? Best of your ability. And you will see sometimes you will not, might not give you the perfect answer, and that's okay. And that's what you have this time to practice it, right? Even marginal increases in your ability to improve the way you interviews can have a tremendous help, right? So, for example, like you're interviewing for like an $80,000 or $90,000 job, right? So, sometimes just increasing, being 1% good at it, 2% good at it over time, right? That's one of the things that it does. The more, every time you do a mock interview, right, it makes you that much little bit better, right? The same thing when you're playing basketball or whatever, right? Every miss you make helps you get better. You know what you need to do next in order to get better. That's how our mind works. It just continually gets better as long as you want to get better and as long as you're making the attempts, right? So the easiest way, because something like an interview, like a skill, like an interview skills, it can help you, it give you, multiple dividends, right? So it has a really high return on investment, essentially, when you can answer questions effectively and be able to communicate. And one of the easiest ways that you can learn how to communicate well is go how you have communicated before, right? And don't really worry about how you look or sound. That's Nobody's going to be that good when they're first creating or interviewing things. That's You can expect that. You can expect not for yourself to be that good in the beginning. But key thing is you should appreciate all the efforts and improvements, all the decisions that you're making to make yourself better at least a little bit. That involves essentially doing mock interviews. Probably nobody gonna see. But the more you do them, the more you try them, the more you attempt them, is where you're gonna be good at. So really don't really worry about how you look and sound and things like that. Really focus on getting better a little bit at a time, all the time, right? And we all kind of worry about how we judge ourselves, and you can use essentially that time, right? Instead of judging yourself, thinking you're not good, just work on your interview questions and then start practicing them out loud, right? And one of the things that I can tell you is that when you're doing your mock interviews, record them, right? Use your webcam, use your phone and record them. And again, observing your own behavior or observing your own actions is one of the easiest ways to actually learn how to do well in the future, right? So it's many people, again, the reason I talk about this a lot is because people are afraid to kind of face how they sound, and people are afraid to see how they look, right? These are same issues that I ran into. But I realized the benefit I have from like listening to myself and then helping myself be better at it, or looking at myself and finding a way to present myself right way, had helped me so much more later on than me worrying about and judging myself for not being good at something I never even practiced that much. So you can really judge yourself later once you actually become a little bit, when you have a little bit of practice, when you have a little bit of experience. But it's really no point thinking, you don't sound good or you don't look good and things like that, and stop yourself from doing what you need. So really do the mock interviews if you can, as many as you can in the beginning, because it's one of those skills. Once you learn to be good at interviews, you're pretty much good forever. You don't need to continue to be good at it, right? This is one of the things I experienced. Once I started to be good at interviews, I knew when it happened, right? Because when I used to go to interviews, I knew, man, that interview is not going well. I was very nervous. I didn't know what to say. I feel like I had to come up with make up answers at that time. That's how I knew where the interviews are not going well. But when I realized that I know the kind of questions they're going to be asking. Why don't I go practice on my own? And when I kept doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 times over and over again. And then at one point it became so natural to me to essentially give interviews, and essentially I can have a call with a recruiter and just kind of talk casually about my experiences and the problems I went through and the actions I took and results I had, right? And then I will tell them if I haven't done something, I haven't done that, but these are the way I accomplished projects before when I didn't know how to do something. I went and learned and I implemented it, as long as I implemented it as much as I can to get solve the problem project that I was working on, right? So that's the kind of the way I approached it, right? So one of the things that you can do is that once you're doing your mock interviews, record them and then create a list of things that you can improve upon, right? And that way you exactly what you need to do, right? You can say, we need a better tell me about yourself answer to the tell me about yourself question, or you need a better answer for the what are your weakness question, right? And then break it down basically and create a list, right? And also create a list of all the things that you're doing well, that you can appreciate appreciate your work for, right? So those are the things that I would say, right? Do mock interviews, then create a list of things you can improve, and then obviously improve about them, right? And then create a list of things that you're doing well and be happy about that, because you probably weren't good at that before. And if you were good at it, that's great. There's one less thing to be working on, right? So get to know yourself that way. Be really good at interviews. It's going to pay off for a long time once you become good at it.